Underrated bands of the 60s. Remember when this song blared through your old radio? Or when this one outshined the decade's big names? In the 60s, while some bands became legends, others played with just as much passion, creativity, and energy, but never got the recognition they deserved. Today, we're pulling them out of the shadows and traveling back to that golden decade to listen to the underrated bands that, though overshadowed by giants, wrote unforgettable chapters in rock history. Little Bit O' Soul by The Music Explosion. Thinking back to 1967 brings those summer days to life when everything felt simpler and new sounds flooded the airwaves. Amid the explosion of sounds that defined the decade, one song slipped under the radar for many, but holds a special place for those who heard it. Little Bit O' Soul by The Music Explosion. This band felt like it was pieced together from borrowed parts young guys from Ohio who could hardly imagine the impact their music would have, even if just for a moment. Their style wasn't about sophistication, but raw energy, the kind of instant joy you felt in your fingers strumming a guitar. That's exactly what they delivered. Every chord, every drum beat screamed, "We're alive and we want you to feel it too." What's wild is that this song, which climbed the charts, faded among giants like the Beatles or the Doors. But for those of us who heard it on old transistor radios, it was impossible to forget. Before we move on, we'd love to know you better. Where are you tuning in from? Drop it in the comments. Let's keep going. 11. Dirty Water by the Standellse. If you were one to tune into stations playing less mainstream stuff, you might have caught this buzz in the air, something mixing local pride with teenage rebellion. Dirty Water by the Standellse was just that, a song that didn't just talk about Boston, but captured an entire era, the idea that every place, no matter how flawed, had its charm. The Standellse weren't chasing global fame, but aimed to capture the soul of their surroundings. The lyrics mentioned dirty rivers and story-filled streets, and maybe that's why it felt so real. Every time they played it live, the crowd didn't just hear music, they felt part of a story that belonged to them. What's fascinating is that despite their talent and authenticity, the Standellse never reached the fame of other bands of the time. Still, their legacy lives on in those of us who heard it on our old radios at least once. Drop a like if you vibe more with old school songs than today's hits. Liar Liar by the Castaways. Some songs are born from a shout, an unstoppable urge, and Liar Liar by the Castaways is exactly that. It was 1965. The world was spinning fast, TVs were just starting to fill living rooms, and young people were looking for something to make them feel alive. That's when this song hit like lightning direct, fast, bursting with raw energy. The Castaways weren't polished musicians or out to change rock history. They were just a bunch of guys wanting to express what they felt, and they did it with an infectious rhythm, a screeching guitar, and drums that hit straight to the heart. The lyrics are simple, almost naive, but they carry an ageless emotion, betrayal, disappointment, and that weird mix of anger and fun only youth knows. Sadly, Liar Liar was a fleeting hit, and the band faded almost without a trace. It's one of those hidden gems that reminds us music doesn't always need fame to touch the soul. 9. I Had Too Much to Dream, Last Night by the Electric Prunes. Now we come to a song that, even today, sounds unlike anything else. Listening to I Had Too Much to Dream last night by the Electric Prunes is like opening a door to a far-off fantastic world, with twisting guitars, voices floating between real and imaginary, and a sense of mystery that captivated us when we were young. The Electric Prunes, like us, were young and restless, with ideas that often clashed with the music industry of their time. They weren't a mainstream band, but one for those who wanted to experiment, play with sounds, and push what a guitar could do. This song was a bold experiment, blending psychedelia and blues in a way few dared to try. For those who lived the 60s, I Had Too Much to Dream was an invitation to daydream, to let sensations take over and accept that reality could bend. Even now, it holds that vibe, reminding us of a decade full of surprises around every corner. 8. Walk Away, Renée by the Left Banke. This strange song gives off a vibe of preemptive nostalgia, blending innocence and melancholy that seemed to float in the air as it played on the radio. Walk Away Renée by the Left Banke captures that like few others. Its delicacy makes you picture walking down a cobblestone street, feeling the world shift with every step, but in no rush, because each moment is perfect. The Left Banke seemed to live in a dream. They weren't after wild fame, but aimed to create music that touched the hearts of listeners. Their sound, with soft arrangements and intertwining voices, carried both sadness and beauty. The song speaks of impossible love, the distance that pulls people apart, and maybe that's why it still resonates. We've all felt the void of a goodbye. Despite the perfection of this track, the band never reached the heights of the era's big names. Walk Away Renée became a kind of secret haven, a moment of introspection no commercial success could replace. What other band do you think deserves more recognition? Drop it in the comments. 7. 96 Tears by and the Mysterians. No one imagined a band with such a quirky name would carve out a spot even briefly in music history. 96 Tears by and the Mysterians hit like a punch to the gut with its simplicity and power. 1966 was a year of experimentation and change. Radios were filling with new sounds from bands that didn't always make the official history books. This song, with its relentless organ and lyrics of heartbreak, stood out, capturing the spirit of a youth starting to rebel and question everything. and the Mysterians were young guys from East Michigan, and their music carried the raw energy of those unsure if they'd be remembered. But something about 96 Tears made it unforgettable. The emotion packed in every chord, that mix of sadness and anger we all recognize when we've loved and lost. Nothin' Yet by the Blues Magoos. When it comes to songs radiating energy and urgency, we can't skip We Ain't Got Nothin' Yet by the Blues Magoos. This track was a mini hurricane that slipped in alongside the era's biggest acts. The Blues Magoos burst in without asking permission, with the kind of boldness only the young can pull off. What made this song special was how it mixed obvious rebellion with an almost innocent humor. We listened back then and felt part of something bigger, like we could question everything and still laugh at ourselves. The Blues Magoos weren't commercial giants, but they left an indelible mark on those of us tuned into every chord coming through the speakers. Like many emerging bands of the time, it was recorded on a shoestring budget, yet it felt like it was on the edge of something huge, about to uncover a world no one had shown us before. Number 5. Wild Thing by the Troggs. That simple melody hid the power of an entire decade. Wild Thing by the Troggs came at just the right moment, as TV was spreading, trends came and went, and music became a mirror for it all. Wild Thing was a declaration that you could feel, live, and express yourself without permission, a cry for freedom when we were just starting to grasp that word.
Think you move me.
The Troggs were British, and their music had that cheeky, bold vibe that defined the UK back then. The song is straightforward, no extra frills, and that made it irresistible. In 1966, anyone who heard it felt they could ditch the rules and let loose. Those simple notes, that raw voice, had a power that needed no explanation. It spoke straight to the heart. What's curious is that, though it's now seen as a rock anthem, the Troggs didn't get the same reverence as their more polished peers. Yet their music lives on in old radios, summer night memories, and the feeling that sometimes the simplest things are the most powerful. 4. Have I the Right by the Honeycombs. 1964. For many of us, that year was like opening a window and letting in a gust of fresh air when music started taking over everything. Have I the Right by the Honeycombs was a big part of that new wave of sounds. It was one of those songs you heard on the radio and knew it was special, even if you didn't catch all the lyrics. The Honeycombs had something unique. Their drummer, Honeylandtree, was a woman in a male-dominated world, breaking barriers just by being there. Their energy was contagious, their style setting a pace that felt ahead of its time. The song, with its driving rhythm and direct voice, spoke of doubt and desire in a way anyone could get. Back then, hearing it meant feeling you could break rules too. Despite its success in the UK and hitting the US charts, the band never got the lasting recognition it deserved. But that song, like a scent of youth, remains untouched in the memories of those who lived that era. Subscribe to the channel if you want more videos about underrated bands and songs. 3. Double Shot of My Baby's Love by the Swingin Medallions. 2 years later, in 1966, the US music scene was buzzing. Bands were popping up in every garage, and one of them was the Swingin Medallions, who showed off their talent with Double Shot of My Baby's Love. This track had that Friday night party vibe with friends dancing in the living room and drinks poured into random glass cups. What made it special wasn't just its catchy rhythm, but its authenticity. No gimmicks, no perfect formulas, just the voice of young folks wanting to have fun, and that was its charm. The Swingin Medallions captured a fleeting moment, when music stopped being just melodies and became a shared experience, rubbing shoulders with the era's biggest bands. It was a hit in the southern US, and we in Latin America embraced it too, but it never broke out nationally. Still, it didn't need to. Its influence went beyond fame and fortune. 2. Green Tambourine by the Lemon Pipers.
Drop your silver in my tambourine.
A year later, in 1967, summer felt a bit brighter thanks to this song. Everything seemed different when Green Tambourine by the Lemon Pipers played on the radio. Colors felt vivid, ideas fresher. The Lemon Pipers were among the first to mix budding psychedelia with a touch of pop sweetness. Green Tambourine told of a street musician begging for coins, but it also hinted at bigger dreams, a life beyond the ordinary.
My green tambourine.
Its sounds were hypnotic, like closing your eyes and seeing swirls of color unthinkable in the commercial music of just a few years earlier. Listening was like stepping into another world. Though it was a hit and reached the top charts, the band soon fell apart, caught in industry pressures and a market not ready for that new wave. But that didn't stop us from holding this song close to our hearts. 1. Sugar and Spice by the Cryan Shames.
Everybody stops and stares at my baby when she walks.
We end this journey with a band that deserved more recognition, but for a few months, touched the sky. Sugar and Spice by the Cryan Shames played everywhere. It was sweet, yet had a fresh energy that made it unforgettable.
When I see your smile, I get that feeling. 'Cause my baby.
The Cryan Shames weren't trying to compete with British giants. They just wanted to tell their own story. With Sugar and Spice, they captured the essence of a time when things seemed simpler, though they were already changing forever. Their sound had a touch of innocence, a hint of restrained rebellion, as if they knew they were on the edge of a new era.
You know she's sugar and spice and all things nice.
Despite their talent and several memorable songs, the Cryan Shames remained a hidden gem, one of those bands that deserved more than they got. But Sugar and Spice is still there, untouched, waiting for someone to play it again and, for a few minutes, bring back that sweet taste of the 60s. That's the end of our trip. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button if you want more epic moments like this. Turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any updates. See you soon!